This purification comes to them because their perception of those negative events changes, and therefore their definition of suffering changes. Their perception of negative events changes, and therefore their definition of suffering changes. And they no longer allow their lives to be defined by what happens to them. People who are always complaining about what's happening to them are letting the world define them, and therefore define the word suffering for them. They are able to do this. Do what? What I just said. They're able to do this, change their definition of suffering and perception of negative events, because they have been purified from thinking the following. They've been purified from thinking the following. They've been purified from thinking that they are entitled to more happiness and enjoyment than they actually are. And they've been purified from thinking that nothing negative should ever happen to them. When a man or a woman can be purified from the thinking that I am entitled to enjoyment and pleasures and happiness, I'm entitled to those things. I should have those things. When you're purified from that, your definition of suffering will change. Because to that person, what is the definition of suffering? When I don't enjoy something, when I'm not happy, when something doesn't feel good to me, they call that what? Suffering. But whenever we allow God to purify out of us the entitlement mentality that I'm entitled to happiness and joy and pleasures, when that can be purified out and nothing bad should ever happen to me, your definition of suffering will change. And when your definition of suffering changes, you stop suffering. You will stop suffering because you're no longer fulfilling the definition that you have established for yourself. See, if you establish your own definition, then it's easy to fulfill that definition, is it not? And therefore, whenever you are no longer suffering according to your own definition, now God, because God has purified this entitlement mentality out of you, and because the entitlement is gone, now we realize I'm not entitled to live in the pleasures of sin either.